Welcome, story lovers, to a journey deep into the heart of Africa, where ancient tales whisper through the rustling leaves of the savannah. Today, we're going to share a story that has been passed down through generations, a story of a hunter, a magical creature, and a choice that would change a life forever. This is the tale of the hunter who followed a golden antelope. In a village nestled at the edge of a vast and tamed wilderness, lived a young man named Kofi. Kofi wasn't just any hunter, he was the best. His arrows flew truer, his traps were cleverer, and his knowledge of the bush was second to none. He could track a leopard over stone and find water where the ground was cracked and dry. The people of his village respected him, not only for the food he provided but for his deep understanding of the natural world. Kofi never took more than he needed. He understood the delicate balance of life, the sacred dance between predator and prey, and he honored the spirits of the forest with every hunt. One morning, as the sun painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, Kofi set out, his trusty bow and quiver on his back. The air was cool and crisp, filled with the chorus of waking birds. He was tracking a common duiker, its familiar trail easy to follow, but then something caught his eye. A glimmer, a flash of brilliant light, like a piece of the sun had fallen to earth. He moved closer, his curiosity piqued. There, in a sun-dappled clearing, stood a creature unlike any he had ever seen or even dreamed of. It was an antelope, but its coat was not the usual brown or gray. It was pure, shimmering gold. Every hair on its body seemed to be spun from the finest golden thread, and it shone with an ethereal light that pulsed with every beat of its heart. Its eyes were like polished obsidian, intelligent and ancient. Kofi stood frozen, his breath caught in his throat. He had hunted all his life, but this was not prey. This was a vision, a spirit of the wild made manifest. The golden antelope looked directly at him, not with fear, but with a serene and knowing gaze. Then, as gracefully as a leaf floating on the wind, it turned and leaped into the dense thicket. For a moment, Kofi was paralyzed by awe. He knew, deep in his bones, that this creature was sacred. The village elders spoke of such beings, messengers from the spirit world, whose appearance was a powerful omen. To harm such a creature would be to invite a terrible curse upon himself and his people. His heart told him to turn back, to let the magnificent being go and be grateful for the sight. But another voice, a sly whisper in his mind, began to grow louder. Imagine, the voice hissed, the wealth that coat would bring. A pelt of pure gold. You would be richer than any king. No more hunting in the hot sun. No more hunger in the village during the dry season. You could provide for everyone forever. This was the voice of temptation, a seductive promise of a life of ease and power. The image of the golden pelt, a treasure-bound measure, began to cloud his judgment. The respect he held for nature wrestled with the greed that was slowly taking root in his heart. He took a step forward, then another. The desire for the golden prize was becoming an obsession. He forgot his training, his respect, his connection to the land. He was no longer Kofi, the wise and brave hunter. He was just a man chasing gold. He pushed through the undergrowth, following the faint, shimmering trail left by the antelope. The chase was on. The golden antelope was faster than any creature he had ever pursued. It flowed through the forest, a river of light, always just ahead, just out of arrow's reach. It led him deeper and deeper into a part of the wilderness he had never explored. The familiar trees gave way to strange, twisted trunks, and the sounds of the forest grew hushed and eerie. Hours turned into a day, and the sun began to set, but Kofi didn't stop. He was driven, consumed by the hunt. As darkness fell, he finally saw it again. The antelope had stopped by a crystal-clear spring that bubbled up from the roots of a giant baobab tree. It drank calmly, its golden form glowing softly in the twilight. This was his chance. Kofi notched an arrow, his heart pounding in his chest. He took a deep breath, drew back the string, and aimed for the creature's heart. All the traditions of his ancestors, all the wisdom he had ever learned, screamed at him to stop. But the allure of the gold was too strong. He released the arrow. It flew straight and true. But just as it was about to strike, the golden antelope vanished. It didn't run, it simply dissolved into 1,000 points of golden light, like fireflies taking flight. The arrow passed through the shimmering cloud and clattered harmlessly against the baobab tree. Kofi stared in disbelief. The light swirled and coalesced, not into the antelope, but into the form of a beautiful woman with eyes as deep as the forest and a voice that sounded like rustling leaves and flowing water. "Kofi," she said, her voice echoing with ancient power. "I am the spirit of this forest. I took the form of the golden antelope to test you." Kofi fell to his knees, his bow dropping from his trembling hands. He was filled with a shame so profound it felt like a physical weight. "You are a gifted hunter, Kofi," the spirit continued, her tone not angry, but filled with a deep sadness. "You understood the balance. You respected the life you took. But today, you let greed blind you. You saw only gold, not a living soul." Kofi could not speak. Tears streamed down his face. Mixing with the dust on his cheeks, he had failed the test. He had betrayed the very essence of who he was. "I offered you a choice," the spirit said. "To witness a miracle and carry its memory in your heart as a blessing, or to try and possess it for your own gain. You chose possession, and in doing so, you lost everything." The spirit's form began to fade. "Your destiny was to be the greatest hunter, a guardian of the balance between humans and nature. But your path has now changed. You will never again find your way back to your village. This unfamiliar part of the forest is now your home. You will live here alone to reflect on your choice. You will have all you need to survive. The forest will provide, but you will never again know the warmth of your home or the company of your people. This is your new destiny, forged by your own actions." And just like that, she was gone. Kofi was left alone in the heart of an unknown wilderness. He tried for days, then weeks, to find his way back, but every path led him in circles, back to the giant baobab tree and the crystal-clear spring. The forest did provide for him, as the spirit had promised. Fruit hung heavy on the trees, and small game was plentiful. But the food was tasteless, and the water could not quench the thirst in his soul. He lived for many years, a solitary figure in the vast green world. He became a part of the forest, his hair growing long and his skin weathered like bark. He had time, endless time, to think. He thought about his village, his family, the laughter of children. He thought about the pride he once felt in being a hunter who understood the sacredness of life. And most of all, he thought about that single moment of weakness, that flicker of greed that had cost him his entire world. He had chased a golden prize, a temptation that promised everything, only to find that in trying to grasp it, he had lost the things that truly mattered. The story of Kofi, the hunter who followed the golden antelope, became a legend, a cautionary tale told around firesides. It reminds us that the greatest treasures are not made of gold. They are the respect we show for the world around us, the wisdom to know when to admire something beautiful without needing to own it, and the strength to resist the temptations that lead us away from our true path. Kofi's destiny was not a punishment from a cruel spirit, but a consequence of his own choice. He learned too late that true wealth lies in living in harmony with nature, not in trying to conquer it. Thank you for joining us on this journey into African folklore. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales from around the world. Until next time, may you always choose the path of wisdom and respect.